Welcome. Less good mood today. Sad times. Sad times this day. Kind of convenient though. Last time I left off, I was about to tell the story of cocaine, and there's only a reason. The only reason that is the story is because of these doctors. Man, these doctors. But this doctor in particular, this guy, I guess I won't name names because I'm posting this online, but I don't get it. So as an adult, all my life, I guess I've had struggled with what I said in the last video, like the brain stuff, just the way my brain works. And I kind of just thought it was me. I just thought I was, a tad lazy. My brain was just a tad fast. I just overthought a tad, and that was just life. Yeah, because laziness is also part of it. I see that it's not totally relevant, but it's kind of like procrastination. It's weird. I don't want to fully get into it right now, though. I'm mainly just telling this part of the story, which is so I get the diagnosis. I've heard about it as I was breaking up and as life was falling apart before I moved back here last summer. That's a story for another time. And I somehow discovered it then. I'm reading about it. I'm like, man, that sounds a lot like me. All these symptoms I'm reading, and poor working memory is also a symptom of it. And I can't get my hand here. I'm trying to talk with my hands, but it's I can't. Although so many thoughts just aren't there. And I mean, maybe it's not that. Maybe I got a wrong diagnosis. Maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. But I did get a diagnosis, okay? Someone agreed that I had ADHD. And so then I get a referral. Well, then I had to go to a walk-in clinic because I didn't have a family doctor. And to get a prescription for ADHD, you have to get a psychiatrist referral because it's a controlled substance, because they're abusable. Key point in the story. So I go to the walk-in clinic. I talk to that guy. Already drugs get brought up, and he asks about my drug history, and I'm trying to be honest in this phase of life, so I tell them I've done a lot of drugs in my life. And again, it's if you read about ADHD, that's pretty common, is that people who go undiagnosed self-medicate. They're trying to fix their brain. They want to feel better. So I'm honest. The guy really is thinking of focusing on that, I recall. And then he sends me, I get the referral still though, go to the psychiatrist. And I can't really remember how those first meetings went, but I do remember all it was is going in and filling out a form and then talking to the doctor, the psychiatrist, for about 5 minutes. And you know what he asks? He isn't asking me what I would think are that relevant questions. I guess I'm not a doctor. Maybe he's reading how I respond to things as opposed to the content of the questions. But every time he says, "So tell me about yourself." And I hate that question. I've always hated that question. I don't know how to tell about myself. Where do I start? But never once does he ask me about symptoms or anything. And so I've seen him twice now, and talked to him 3 times. First time he said, "I think you have borderline personality disorder. Read this book." Shows me borderline personality disorder for dummies. It says, "And try this medication, anti-seizure medication, which is also used for people with bipolar." Or maybe it was borderline. I forget now, but it was lamotrigine. It was the chemical name, I think. I forget and Lamictal was the brand name, or maybe that's reversed, something like that. So I try that. Didn't really notice much. Minor euphoria, minor anxiety relief. It kind of helped me, actually, I recall, in conversation, be less anxious, because a symptom, or maybe one might say a comorbidity, to do with this thing is not only do my thoughts go off in tangents in conversation, but I tend to get pretty anxious about it too, because I don't like it. I'd like to be engaged when I'm with people, and so when conversations have went badly enough where now conversations are anxiety inducing. So that medication helped with that a bit. That was kind of cool. I was thinking to myself, hey, maybe I'll get to be on a cocktail of sorts, and the next one will be ADHD medication. I was half right. A couple months later, went back to him, and he says, "I cannot give you stimulant medication. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be racist by doing the accent. It's just how I remember him. um, he gives me non-stimulant ADHD medication, and he never explains to me why. Like, never. He just says, "This is all I can give you." I said, "Okay, I'll try it," is what I'm thinking, because I'm pretty open-minded. Like, I'll try it. And I did, but then he also says to me, "And now, case closed. You need to find a family doctor to continue your treatment and to monitor you." And I say, okay. Sounds good to me. At this time, I'm pretty happy with everything, honestly. Looking back in my journal, I'm like, I could have sworn I had a good lighting. But looking back in my journal, I'm like writing things going, yeah, man, things are really working out. I was pretty happy. For a month, it was working okay. I mean, like, I liked the energy it gave me. I still wasn't, my brain, I was still having all the same issues, but the energy was pretty cool. It gave me increased energy. However, it also came with some negative side effects. I had like morning sickness. It caused me to miss a bunch of days of work because I thought I was just sick. But then, after missing work for a couple days in a row, and then I went back and then missed work again because I had to go home sick again after doing that, like, I think 3 times. I then, like, go home, come back to work next day, go home, come back to work, and then go home again. I think after that I realized, oh wow, this is, and I like Googled about it too. This is just part of the medication, a side effect. Similar, they say it's similar to pregnant people's morning sickness. Probably not as severe, but so I just had to deal with it. It turns out what I did was just start taking it later in the day, and that kind of helped. But then I did like taking it in the morning though, because I noticed the biggest effect immediately after. But so there's that. And then it also gave me erectile dysfunction about a month in, which I still have too. I've stopped taking it. I've been off of it for over a month now, and still things are not working right. I've read online it can take up to 8 weeks for that to get back to normal, which is just madness. Madness, I say. So at about that time, a month in, this was about February because I started this January. A buddy of mine happened to have cocaine on him, and I'm pretty familiar. I guess I'll let you all know too, lovely audience, that like cocaine is quite pharmacologically similar to these ADHD stimulant medications. Generally, they're more similar to amphetamines as opposed to cocaine, but they work on increasing the amounts of neurotransmitters in the brain, which seems to be what ADHD people lack. Like they lack dopamine or something, and so they're always seeking out things to get it, in like a super simplistic term. So so I see my buddy do this, and I've tried cocaine before, and as recreationally, and I found it pretty boring. Like, to me, it did nothing. It was just inexpensive, expensive anxiety, because it would just make me uncomfortable too. But I've realized that was because my buddies were doing too much for me. When my buddy here, he did a line, and or he did a bump rather, as opposed to a line, tiny little thing, and I was like, whoa, you can do that? And then I tried it, and it was like just boom, like just, it's like I could have fallen asleep. Like, I just calmed right down, and my brain just focused right in, and I could direct my thoughts, and like they would stay there. Normally, if I try to direct my thoughts, it's like a struggle. I can keep them in a certain thing for a little bit, but I get just barraged with other thoughts, and I eventually will be taken away with the other ones, inevitably. But with this, it wasn't like that at all. And I think I immediately bought a gram, and I tried that out, and then after that I bought an ounce. And I was doing, at first, my projections, if I could have continued doing as much as I would have been able to make it last over 4 months by doing like 250 milligrams or so a day, spread out throughout the day. And I maintained that for a month, but as the month went on, towards the end of the month, it insidiously gets you, because it's too pleasurable to put something up there, and you have to do it too many times a day, and you're measuring your own things like by eyeball. So it's just, in my eyes, it's impossible. I don't know if anyone could maintain that, because like what happens is you're like, you got a little bit, half a scoop, say, and you're like, maybe just a little bit more, and then maybe I could have resisted that. Maybe now looking back, maybe that is resistible. But either way, that's how it happened. Just a little bit more. And then by I guess like the beginning of March, halfway into March kind of thing, my dosages were increasing, and then frequency of dosages started increasing. And then by April, for sure, that's when all this COVID stuff started happening. Just like a week before. No, actually, no, a couple weeks after everything got shut down, because I was still working for a bit during it. And I started like losing control to the fiend, essentially. Sometimes I would struggle to stop at night. Sometimes, like up until then, I had no problem being like, "Okay, time to go to bed. Put it down, have some hoots, and go to bed." But then I started struggling with that. I'd stay up really late, and and I just felt it growing, and I was like, not good. And then the amount I was doing, it was now like an ounce a month instead of every 4. So immediately now that's like having your own personal rent, because I mean I was getting it wholesale price, so thankfully only 35 per, as opposed to the street value 100 per. So like, but still, 28 times that, too much for once a month. So I saw that, and I was able to thank God, because I'm pretty controlled by what my body decides to do, kind of thing. Like for example, after I stopped the blow, then I also got off the pharmaceuticals I was on, and then I'm like, I'm on a roll. Let's take a break from everything. I was gonna stop smoking, and then I was gonna stop caffeine, just I'd be totally sober, just for an experiment. But I couldn't stop smoking. I tried, man, that was impossible. So I'm just glad cocaine wasn't like that, because that could have been crazy. But no, I was able to. At first, I was able to put it down and go to bed, but then when I wasn't, and when I was spending more at that point too, I said to myself, that's not sustainable. We're going to have to hope we can actually get through to these doctors, because keep in mind the whole time too, I have a family doctor, and my goal is still pharmaceuticals, because I don't want to get street drugs. I also don't prefer to spend that much on them. It would be much cheaper to go through the pharmaceutical people. And this experiment has taught me I also don't want to be measuring my own doses multiple times throughout the day with the medication I'm on. I would like, and that's the joy of amphetamine stimulants, which like Vyvanse or Adderall, maybe Concerta too. I forget about that one, but for sure Vyvanse and Adderall, both of those last like 12 hours kind of thing, like long time throughout the day. I hope I'm not wrong. For sure Adderall. I'm doubting myself with Vyvanse, but there's definitely, though, amphetamines definitely last longer, and so that's my hope, is to get doctor-prescribed amphetamines. But that brings me to today. Oh, we'll actually wrap up the coke thing. So I finished with just a couple intense binges, because we had bought like 2.5 ounces wholesale, and we still had, I guess, probably two whole ounces by the time I decided that I wasn't sustainable. And I was thinking, oh, it'd be cool if I could just stop and keep those for some time in the future, but that also was impossible. I tried, and then I just really wanted to do it, so technically relapsed, I guess, but then I just finished off what we had in 2 couple-day binges, which I discovered is pretty fun. Literally 48 hours awake, just constantly doing that. In 48 hours, in 2 separate occasions, I did a half ounce, which is probably kind of freaky. Probably could have died from that. So I'm actually quite glad that it's done. It was a cool experience, but now it's done. And it's been like 2 weeks now since then, I think, or something like that. At least a week and a half. And I have no desire to do it again. It's kind of mind-blowing. But today I had a phone appointment with the doctor who prescribed me those 2 substances, which I'm off of now, by the way. Strattera and atomoxetine. Oh, derp. That's the derp. Strattera is atomoxetine. One is the brand name, one is the chemical. So atomoxetine and lamotrigine. I got off of both of them as well. Cold turkey. If the family doctor wouldn't titrate me off of them, they said, no, maybe you're on these for a reason. We need to talk to your psychiatrist before we'll let you get off of these, before we'll lower your dose gradually down so that it's easier. And man, I don't like when people do things like that. So I said, I didn't say anything because I don't like conflict, but then I went home and I just cold turkey stopped it anyways. Because like I want to get off of that stuff, so you guys should fucking let me. Like, oh, I don't get it. But so they tell me though to try anything new, they want to talk to my psychiatrist. So I spend weeks trying to get a hold of my psychiatrist. Finally talked to him today on a phone call. And again he asked me, so tell me about yourself. Like, why? Well, we talk a bit, and then at the end he says, so how can I be helpful to you? And I say, doctor, I just want to try a different medication. You don't have to prescribe it. You just need to like write something to my family doctor saying that you recommend it. And he says, my recommendation has not changed. Like, can I ask why? It is my decision. And he raises his voice a little bit with that, like he's felt to me defensive, and I'm pretty like high in neuroticism, so I could be reading into that. I mean, maybe that's just me, but still, though, that's what he said. Like, it's his decision. I said, can I ask why? No, it's his decision. I said, okay, so I'll have to get a second opinion then? He says, yes. I said, okay. At this point, I'm getting pretty emotional. I said, well, thanks then, doctor. I'll wait another 3 to 6 months. And I hang up, and as I'm hanging up, I hear him say, take care. Like, so, yeah, so I call the old family doctor, leave a message. Need them to call me back so we can have our phone call appointment. I'll tell them, yep, doctor doesn't change his mind. Let's go talk to the new psychiatrist. And then that's what we'll do. And hopefully the new psychiatrist will actually talk to me. Like the counselor I had, the psychologist, like we had like several hour-long sessions that led her to determine her diagnosis of ADHD. This guy sees me for 5 minutes and goes, you have borderline personality disorder. Try this. Read this book for dummies. And then says, like, he won't prescribe me the real stuff that it actually works and doesn't have these stupid side effects for what I've been diagnosed with. Ah, man. But feels good to say it. I was getting pretty frustrated before I did this video, so maybe this stuff will be handy, this recording. And, I mean, I try to say it all the time in my head. Like, I don't know where I heard this, but these words, they resonate. Like, I'm gonna keep going forward with a life-affirming yesness. I don't know what that means, but, well, I know what it means. It means I'm just gonna keep going ahead and hoping for the best. Because that's all we can do. And, I mean, maybe the next psychiatrist will be better. Farewell. Next time we'll talk about something. I don't know what.